We are here with the final week of the GBU. I am 3-4, but playoffs are still a possibility. I need a lot of things to go my way. I need Lars to win, Star to win, John Jr. to win, preferably. A lot of things have to go my way, but it's still a big possibility going into this game. So if you're excited for that, make sure to leave a like on the video. Subscribe to the channel. We've got the BBR coming back next year. I'm super excited for that league. I know that this season has kind of felt a little bit underwhelming in certain aspects. I've not liked my team as much as I did my BBR team, so a lot of the Pokemon coming back in Teal Mask, or Indigo Disc, or whatever it's called, I'm super excited about, so stay tuned for that. I'm going to have a lot of content over the next month talking about the new DLC and what it means for Draft League. So let's get into this matchup. As I said, it's very, very important that we get a win here. Is it likely we make playoffs with the win? We need basically all the matches to go our way, which is never a good sign, honestly, for that to happen. If you're relying on everyone else to win, usually not a good sign, but that does not mean we're not going to put our best effort forward. So a lot of things to be kind of concerned with in this matchup. Urshifu is obviously a really, really good Pokemon. Kind of forces my Iron Hands to be Rocky Helmet in this matchup to have any way of getting some long-term progress on that. I'm probably going to be running, and I am running Choice Scarf Gyarados to kind of counterplay that, but if he elects to go Choice Scarf or Urshifu, which we'll figure out pretty early, that presents a lot of problems in this matchup. Galar Slowking, is obviously a very good defensive Pokemon, but it doesn't switch in well to a lot of my team. It doesn't really switch in well to Greninja, Baxcalibur, Iron Hands, or Gyarados. I mean, Gyarados, after a while, thanks to Regenerator, it's going to be able to come in multiple times, but if it has to take a few, major hits along the way, and it gets a boot, if it's not boots, becomes a little bit more problematic to deal with there for him. Thundurus T, very, very good threat, especially something like Choice Scarf or Choice Specs. I just don't have great ways to switch into it. I have to really play around Focus Blast and Thunderbolt with something like Screamtail and Tinglu combo. That's kind of something he has to consider in the builder. And then he has a Zoroark, and I don't know what it is about Zoroark, man. It's just something that doesn't compute in my head on how to play around Zoroark. I don't know why, don't know what the reasoning is, but this is a Pokemon I always struggle with, this ability, and hopefully we can try to mitigate that and play as safely as possible in this matchup, because part of the advantage of Zoroark in this matchup is Urshifu and Thundurus T are really difficult for me to switch into if I don't know if they're Zoroark or not. One of my each of them have switch-ins that are pretty much ruined by Zoroark, so a lot of difficulties there to manage, but let's get right into the team and see how we're going to play this. This is the team we are bringing in the final week. We had to bring baxcalibur. This Pokemon, I said I was going to get a ban at the start of the season, and well, it has been less than good, I would say. I think a lot of the reason it's been poor, I think, has been matchup specific in the way that this team was designed. Looking into it, it hasn't fit on a lot of the team's comps that we brought this season. Now, that could be just a commentary on this Pokemon in general without the ability to Terra and move past threats, but I think overall this is probably at the lower end of what you can expect for Baxcalibur, and I think it should still be a good option, but one that maybe is not in the top tier level. So we're bringing Swords Dance a Scale Shot this week. Scale Shot is pretty effective against my opponent's team. And then the Earthquake and Glaive Rush kind of provide all the coverage we need, so that allows us to run free Swords Dance as a way to kind of late game sweep against my opponent's team. So hopefully this can pick up a lot of kills. This should be kind of the threat that we want it to be in most matchups. One of the things I kind of wish I had maybe was Ice Shard, but maybe that could have been here over Glaive Rush. But I think this set will do a good job of breaking through most of my opponent's team. We have pretty standard set. We have Chople Berry here as just an additional way to pressure the Urshifu. Just give me an opportunity to stay in and click a Earthquake against it, or a Body Press, and then Spike's Whirlwind, just a generic utility. Spike is going to be very useful in this matchup. We assume that the Galar Slowking has to be heavy duty boots, but Spikes is going to be really good against the Urshifus particularly, because as I mentioned earlier, we do have Rocky Helmet Iron Hands. We do have Endure on this thing. I'm pretty sure that I end up using Endure in the game, almost 100%. But Endure, it gives me some additional damage against that Urshifu, which is going to be really, really nice, because that's going to have to be, if it's Choice Scarf, one of the game plans is to use Rocky Helmet damage plus Spikes to really just neutralize that threat for most of the game. If it's not Scarf, this is another good way to check it. Dazzling Gleam, Screamtail, and then we Protect, Wish, and Baton Pass. Just, generic utility, Wish Passer in this matchup. Our game plan is primarily around this Pokemon as well. Choice Scarf, Gyarados. Gyarados has kind of been the MVP of this team if there has been one. It's gonna, I think coming into this week, it was like 3rd or 4th on the kill leader list. Not that matters too much, but it certainly shows like where we've been getting the kills from this team. It's mainly been Gyarados, and kind of taken away the limelight from I say Lacazette because that's the nickname from the baxcalibur, and kind of shows why this Pokemon probably should not have been allowed to Terra. And kind of shows one of the problematic instances of low tier Terra is that this Pokemon with Terra is basically better than baxcalibur. Maybe it's hard to really say, given an 8-game sample size at most, but that kind of shows one of the main issues you see with low tier Terra is that kind of result there. So Choice Scarf, pretty standard here, and then I have Flame Charge, Arcanine, Hisuian. And the reason I have Flame Charge here instead of the Choice Scarf is I want to be able to click Close Combat. In certain situations, Head Smash into Close Combat, so this Pokemon doesn't get, revenge killed with Heavy Duty Boots by something like the Urshifu and doesn't invite it in so often. So if I bring this Pokemon in, Flame Charge up, if it's, if the Urshifu's not Choice Scarf, then this Pokemon has the ability to attack through it with the Close Combat. So that's the team. Let's get right into the battle. We are here with the battle. It is on Showdown Replay today. A little bit of a post-com. I haven't done one of these in a long time. Well, I guess I technically post-commed the Summer Scramble game against Owen because my recording fell apart. But it's been a while since I've done a Showdown post-com, man. Since like maybe the NPL days? I don't know. It's been forever. But the schedules just didn't line up this week for us too well, unfortunately. And to get it done, we played on Showdown. And as I said, this is a very, very important game in that we are kind of near the end of the line in terms of if results go our way, we make the playoffs. I think the only other two lower down the standings than us are Amel and Kirby, who are playing, have a chance. If whoever wins there has a chance. If everything goes wrong, they can make playoffs. So this is the matchup. As I kind of alluded to, the Urshifu and the Torn are going to be big problems, and knowing if they're Choice Scarf or not is going to be pretty crucial in terms of how we have to figure this game out. Zoroark is a problem just in the fact that it's just so frustrating to deal with, at least from my perspective, and especially in this matchup where Urshifu and Torn are difficult to switch into, and depending on what set they are, require different answers. So that's going to make this matchup a little bit difficult. We are Terra Fairy, or Terra Flying on our Gyarados, and he screwed up his Terra on his Goodra, so no Terra there. We just lead up with Tinglu. Tinglu's going to be really good in this spot against all of his leads. He led Thunders there, so prevents Freeze Volt Switch. It allows me to provide a lure lead against the Urshifu, which is nice, and then it allows me to get spikes on like basically everything else. As getting up a spike is going to put pressure on this Goodra, and it's going to make Grimmsnarl, that just came in here, a lot more difficult to really make progress. And obviously the benefit against Urshifu, with my Rocky Helmet Iron Hands is evident in this matchup. My opponent is just going to bulk up twice on my Tinglu, but luckily I packed the Whirlwind. Whirlwind's just such a powerful move here, preventing any random setup sweepers at all from being a problem. Now, here's where we see the Zoroark become a problem. I chew that Focus Blast to the dome, and I click a Body Press just trying to do some damage. And yeah, we learned the hard way that Zoroark is the Goodra here. So we lose so much damage on here. We lose our lure potential against the Urshifu, which is very frustrating. We have to bring out Screamtail here. Take about 9%, which is a little bit unfortunate. And then we get to learn that this is Boots, Slowking, Galar. Kind of one of the worst nightmare situations that Pokemon could be, as the spikes would be really good at putting the pressure on it. Now we know that this is the Zoroark. We can kind of play around it accordingly in this spot and go just right back into Screamtail. Now Screamtail's going to take 1,000,000 from this Shadow Ball here, and especially after a Spit Out Drop is unfortunate. My opponent's going to double out to Urshifu, taking advantage of the Tinglu here. Now against certain sets, this lure actually does work. Now I would have to sack off my entire Tinglu. So I'm just going to continue to I'm going to make the play to Iron Hands because that's the play we need. And we learn it's not the Choice Band set. So we actually could have bagged this Pokemon immediately if he wasn't Choice Banded, and probably would have been a good play to actually make in this spot. Obviously this is the really, really safe play, but if this goes wrong, then the safe play still kind of exists and we get some progress out of Tinglu here. But we get some Rocky Helmet, we get some chip there, and we're able to just throw off an Ice Punch. The reason we're Ice Punching here primarily is to pressure the Thundurus. So Drain Punch was pretty obvious here, but Ice Punch does just a little bit more to the Soaking Galar, and it doesn't let the Thundurus come in for free. Obviously this Pokemon can just Chili, get out of there, and it not be a problem. But protecting against the Thundurus, I think, is the most important part of that turn cycle, realistically, to prevent them from coming in and gaining some offensive pressure. So in comes the Zoroark again. Zoroark continues to be a problem. I bring in Screamtail as he Focus Blasts here. And looking at the rolls here, I'm trying to get a Wish off here, but the roll I don't think was really in my favor here at all. It was hitting about 9.5. I was in the 9.1, 2, 3 range, I think. So I went for it just to see, if I could pull it off. I don't really have another great switch in to that Pokemon either way. So just a little bit unfortunate there. If we get the Wish off, then we might be in a little bit of a better spot. But Zoroark just made so much progress in this game. Not much that I could do. So I got the Terra Flying off here, go for a Waterfall, put a little bit of chip on this Pokemon. And I tried here, as it goes for the Chili Reception, just try to go for an attack, just to keep this HP low. Because the next time this Pokemon comes in, then I'll be able to 2-hit KO with Terra Blast, which will be, or a Waterfall, which will be really, really nice. Especially if I get a Moxie Boost or something. So keeping this thing low is really important, so I go for the flinch. And he just decides to hard out into his Grimmsnarl to prevent any sort of foolishness of me getting another flinch on his Chili Reception. The snow's not really a thing on this team. Like, the snow doesn't matter for his build at all. So he goes into Grimmsnarl, takes that hit, and then I go right back into Tinglu because this is a setup sweeper. He could have rest. I need to be able to Whirlwind at a moment's notice. So I just bring in Tinglu every time, and he does reveal to be rest. And I'm pretty sure I just Whirlwind this Pokemon away. Yeah, so it's going to stay at full health. He gets to bring this Pokemon in. I make a pretty ballsy move to stay in here. There's really not much I could do to switch in at this point with Screamtail gone. Nothing is switching in on a Focus Blast. So I just select to stay in and Whirlwind again. I don't really have much other way to make progress against this Pokemon in that spot. And right here, we reveal the Sleep Talk, so we're going to be one attacking move, which will be nice. I'm just going for some Body Press just to put a little bit of damage. He is Rest with Talk with Leftovers, so this damage is not going to mean much at all, but I can just kind of Whirlwind him out here, and then he brings in this. So once again, you kind of see the problem that we're running into here. So I make an odd play, and I probably could have just Earthquaked. I get up the second layer of spikes, and the second layer of spikes usually doesn't matter too much in a lot of these games. But it's looking like my win condition is going to have to be to break through with Gyarados and baxcalibur, and I really want to make sure that I get as much damage on the Goodra that comes, the actual Goodra when it comes in, and the Grimmsnarl and Urshifu. I'm going to need as much damage as possible. This Pokemon gets revenged by basically, my baxcalibur after a Scale Shot and my Gyarados. So while it would be nice to have Chip, it's in range here that I can just sack off for a second layer of spikes and get the damage elsewhere, because an Earthquake damage here, you see this Waterfall come off and kill it. Earthquaking, getting damage accomplishes nothing in this spot. The second spike is going to accomplish potentially a little bit. It'll help out in some potential endgame situations. So here I was telegraphed Scarf as hell. That was a really, really telegraphed Scarf, and he goes for the Wind Bleak, and that's actually going to 2-hit KO from this range because of my bulk being very defensive and not as much HP focus. So I'm going to have to sack this Pokemon off, and now we're kind of in a spot, as you can kind of see, kind of where I expected in this game. My defensive backbone really didn't have a lot to go right if he got one Zoroark play, got one of the Zoroark plays to go for him, to go for his way. As you can see here now, I don't have enough way to push progress on Thundurus and Urshifu. And right here, we see the Wind Bleak, that does their Wild Bolt. I don't know why I'm saying Bleak Wind. I'm just, thinking of VGC too much. I go over the Head Smash and Mitch, which should basically seal the game, but he misses the next move and I get the Head Smash off. So the hacks, I guess, evens out there a little bit. But at this point, I pretty much have nothing I can do to stop this Urshifu. And he just goes for a U-turn, which is a smart move to get this Pokemon in. And I'm able to bring in my Gyarados and Earthquake this Pokemon. That does a lot, but I'm going to have to eat a Draco in the head to do that. Which, unfortunate that I have to take that, but, we are able to kill this Pokemon off, get a Moxie Boost, get another kill for Gyarados in this season, and he reveals here to be a Choice Scarf Urshifu, which was kind of the worry the entire time, that he was going to be double Choice Scarf on Thundurus and Urshifu. Not much that could really be done. I tried a Scale Shot to see if I can pull myself back into it. I probably could have just SD'd and then Earthquaked twice here, as he does reveal to be Spirit Break here, lowering my special attack. If I SD maybe on the switch or Earthquake into SD, then maybe I have actually a chance to pull something out. But the Choice Scarf Urshifu is still going to kill me in the end. And that is how we lose this game and how we lose GBU Season 1, Week 8. Unfortunate result, really. I think Brody had a really, really good matchup, and I think played to the strengths of his team very, very well here. I think Urshifu, Thunderous, and Zorak as a combination, especially with the illusion, was really difficult for me to switch in on. And a lot of my threats were really not good at checking Scarf Urshifu or Scarf Thunderous. Maybe I could have brought Choice Scarf Greninja instead of the baxcalibur as another way to check that. Dark Pulse actually did a pretty decent job into his team. Obviously, the Grimmsnarl can come switch into it very well, but that one could potentially be difficult to play into some Surfs. Some Surfs that I could have in my range to click there. So, interesting to look back on. Maybe I could have done something a little bit different, but at the end of the day, I don't think this season was for us. We end 3-5. A little bit of a retrospective on the team. I didn't like it as much as I kind of thought going in. We drafted Ursaluna to this team, and Ursaluna and baxcalibur just didn't work on this team at all. Unfortunately, we picked up the Arcanine, and Arcanine was very, very good against Q when we played him last week. It had the potential to be good here. It did pick up another kill. So 2 kills and 2 deaths for that Pokemon, does a little bit of value, but unfortunately, I think that this team just had kind of some of those few fatal flaws in that the baxcalibur just wasn't a good takeover threat. Gyarados had to be the takeover threat the majority of the weeks, and my defensive core was good, but I didn't have, I think, the offense around it to take over as much. So a Pokemon in baxcalibur's price range that would have been a little better, I think would have made this team, really, really good. But, hindsight is 2020. Pokemon's a learning thing. I know a lot of the people I play with in these leagues play a lot more leagues than I do at this point. So, some of these things, are learning things that maybe they know already. So, next league we have is the BBR for Indigo Disc. That's not to say that there will be no content over the next month or so, as that league will be starting up at some point soon. But there is going to be a lot of content over the next couple of weeks leading into Indigo Disc, and as Indigo Disc releases, I'm going to be putting a lot of effort in keeping this channel going in between the leagues and bringing you a lot more insight on some of the competitive Pokemon aspects and some more strategic type videos. So stick tuned for that. I do already have a Sand Offense video done for one of the Pokemon coming back in Indigo Disc. You can probably tell which one's coming back if I'm saying that. So that's going to be one of the videos we see, and I've got a few other stuff. We might do some Wi-Fi OU stuff as well. I know there's going to be some USIM content, some Gen 7 Wi-Fi potentially coming to the channel, so also stick tuned for that. A lot is coming out over the next couple of months, leading especially into Emerald Open, a tournament that I host. So don't want to turn this into an update video at the end, but there's a lot to look forward to. I've kind of gotten back into the swing of things with content, and I'm super excited to keep making content. Kirby's been doing my thumbnails now, which is super exciting. That takes a little bit of a mental load off me in terms of something that I think is very, very difficult for me to get my head around. So he's doing that for me. I've got a lot of great ideas, and there's going to be a lot of cool stuff coming over the next couple of months that you'll want to be subscribed for. So if we can hit 400 by the end of the year, that has been my goal as always. So if you haven't already and you got this far, surely we can get a subscription out of that. But I will see you all in the next video, and as always, have a wonderful day.